What is one habit that all successful people have in common? They're all readers. And I'm not talking about just few pages, they read a lot. It's reported that Bill Gates reads about 50 books a year. He even takes 2 weeks out of the year just to dedicate himself to reading. Warren Buffett spends 80% of his day reading. Elon Musk, the founder of Tesla and SpaceX, taught himself rocket science simply by reading tons of science books. Oprah Winfrey refers to reading as her pathway to personal freedom. When she learned to read at the age of 3, she discovered there was a whole world to conquer that went beyond her farm in Mississippi. So, are you ready to conquer the world as well? Hi, my name is Tay from Financial Tortoise, a channel dedicated to creating personal finance content for the sandwich generation. In this video, I'll be sharing 3 of my favorite personal finance books which helped my wife and I to reach financial security in our 30s. Before we start, I've time-stamped each book, so if there's any part of the video that you'd like to skip, then don't worry, it's all right there in the description. Let's get started. Number 1, Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. I first got introduced to Dave Ramsey by a friend who had an extra ticket to one of his conferences. I've read a lot of other personal finance books before. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. They're great books, and in no way am I recommending you don't read them. For me, they were just too high-level mindset focused and not enough on the down-to-earth mechanics. Most often, it was hard to connect the concepts from those books to the reality of my personal situation. I spent my 20s following the traditional path to success, or what I believed was the path to success. Attend good college, get good grades, become a professional, something that makes a good salary and is well respected. By the age of 30, I felt I had hit all the appropriate targets expected of me by my immigrant parents. Graduate college in 4 years, receive a commission to the United States Army, rise to the rank of a captain, complete my MBA at a well-respected institution, meet the love of my life, and get married. However, I had a nagging feeling, especially when it came to my personal finances. I thought I had followed the right pathway and hit all the markers. I wanted to feel like I achieved the American dream, that I had found success, that I had found wealth. However, when I went to that first Dave Ramsey conference, I got a rude awakening. I was so focused on showing my success that I did not pay enough attention to the nuts and bolts of managing my personal finances. When I tallied up my net worth right after our wedding, I had nothing to show for except a combined student loan of $105,000. 80% of that being student debt for my MBA program. A plug for my wife for marrying me despite this. I love you, honey. What I appreciate about Dave Ramsey's book is that he gets right to the point. He doesn't spend a lot of time on the mindset of the rich and wealthy. But for example, he'll go right to, what car are you driving and why haven't you sold it yet? If you're just starting your personal finance journey but don't know where to begin, I highly recommend starting with Dave Ramsey's book. I first picked it up 10 years ago, but I come back to it often to remind myself of the many timeless principles. Thanks to this book, my wife and I were able to pay off $105,000 of student loans in 3.5 years and have reached financial security today. Some quotes and takeaways from the book I want to share. When you're physically fat, it is hard to be in denial because there is the ever-widening belt line. But when you're financially fat, however, you can fake it and look good for a while. It's hard to see if someone is doing financially well or not just by looking at his or her lifestyle. We're conditioned to believe that if someone lives in a big house with a nice car, they must be doing financially well. However, this is oftentimes far from the truth. Until we're willing to face the facts and realize that our financial position is not healthy, we can't begin to work to make it better. That is so ingrained into our culture that most Americans cannot even envision a car without a payment, a house without a mortgage, a student without a loan, and a credit without a card. Be very careful with debt. Dave Ramsey takes a pretty strong stance against debt. He says, no debt. I personally wouldn't go that far, but I definitely agree with the notion that we must be very, very careful when it comes to borrowing money. Debt allows us to buy more than we can afford, and we can quickly get into trouble, for example, foreclosure, bankruptcy, if it's not managed well. Taking on a car payment is one of the dumbest things people do to destroy their chances of building wealth. The car payment is most folks' largest payment except for their home mortgage, so it steals more money from their income than virtually anything else. Say no to car payments. If you've ever heard of Dave Ramsey's radio show, it seems like the answer to most people's financial problem is sell your car. It's funny to listen to, but the reason he recommends this so often is that it is the truth. Have a budget. Until I read Dave Ramsey's book, I didn't think I needed a budget. I had a general idea of where my money went and thought that because I had money left over in the bank at the end of the month, I was managing my money fairly well. Well, being buried under $105,000 of student loan quickly snapped me back to reality. Spending money without a budget is like going on a vacation without an itinerary. You can do it, but why allow the stress? Number 2, I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. If Dave Ramsey's book is great for getting you jump-started on the personal finance journey, Ramit Sethi's book is great for providing a specific step-by-step roadmap. It's written specifically for young professionals with mid to high income. Where to save your money, what to invest in, how to automate your process so you can focus more on your life instead of counting every penny you save. Some takeaways from the book. Automation. Sethi gives advice on automatically enabling yourself to save, invest, and spend. Enjoying it, not feeling guilty. His main point is that you should automate your finances so that you can effortlessly save and invest, as well as spend the remainder on the things you enjoy. Automation helps to remove the emotional element of our decision making that oftentimes hinders us from making smart financial decisions. Splurge buying because we feel deprived, or not buying something we need because we feel guilty. Long-term investing. Along with his emphasis on automation, Sethi recommends long-term passive stock investing instead of speculative guessing. I also like Sethi's 85% solution, where it's better to act and get things about 85% right than doing nothing at all. Be frugal, not cheap. Ramit Sethi says, spend extravagantly on the things you love and cut mercilessly on the things you don't. That's the difference between being cheap and being frugal. Being cheap is trying to cut spending on everything. And being frugal is cutting costs on the things you don't care about so you can splurge on the things that you do. And finally, my last favorite is The Simple Path to Wealth by Jill Collins. After I've gotten the basics of my finances, such as having a budget, saving, and managing my expenses, this book quickly became one of my favorites. And the reason is because it tackles head-on the most talked about personal finance topic: investing. If you just Google investing online, you're bombarded with so much information: stocks, bonds, mutual funds, dividends, gold, bitcoins, etc. You name it, it's there. This book cuts right through the noise and gives you on a platter the only investing advice you'll ever need. This book grew out of a blog that Jim Collins initially started out as a series of letters to his teenage daughter. After having spent decades studying the market and making his own mistakes investing, he was shocked to find that not everyone shared his passion for understanding money. In his daughter's own word, "I know money is important, but I just don't want to spend my life thinking about it." By reading this book, we get all the benefits from Jim's realization. He wrote this book for those of us who necessarily don't want to spend our life thinking about money, but still want to make smart financial decisions. Some simple and powerful lessons. Spend less than you earn, invest the surplus, and avoid debt. Carrying debt is as appealing as being covered with leeches and has much the same effect. Money can buy many things, but nothing more valuable than your freedom. Try saving and investing 50% of your income. With no debt, this is perfectly doable. When you can live on 4% of your investment per year, you are financially independent. 3 simple tools for your portfolio: stocks, VTSAX, bonds, VBTLX, and cash. And by the way, did I mention my wife and I had a chance to meet Jim in person? Yes, I am a fanboy. You'll be the same person in 5 years as you are today, except for the people you meet and the books you read. Books are one of the most powerful vehicles for change. One of the greatest lessons that my parents taught me is the value of education. Having grown up in post-war Korea, both my parents had limited opportunities for education. Neither received more than elementary schooling. However, they understood the power of education and drilled that into my sister and I growing up. I learned early on that books held a secret to so much knowledge, and I believe it is one of the most accessible vehicles for life transformation. For just $9.99, you can access the minds of some of the smartest and wisest people in the world, free if you have a local library. Books help you rewire your brain and make you think completely different about the world. And financial knowledge gives you the power and freedom, as Oprah Winfrey would say, to conquer the world. So please get your hands on these books. They can transform you and your family's life. Thank you guys for watching. If you found value from this video, please hit the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on any of my other upcoming videos. I firmly believe that being part of the sandwich generation doesn't have to mean financial stress. With careful planning and preparation, we can thrive during this stage of life. Help me spread the knowledge. Thank you again. I'll see you in my next video.